The third birthday is the long-awaited new title in the Parasite Eve franchise. Yes, after 11 long years, we finally got a new one. And it wasn't really worth the wait. The story starts off with Manhattan getting tentacle raped. This signifies the arrival of the Twisted, who are your standard monsters. They wreak havoc on the city, killing millions of people. So the government comes up with a solution to the monster problem: time travel. In the span of a few months, the secret to time travel is figured out. The secret is putting an amnesiac Aya Brea into a capsule. Yes, in addition to pulling the time travel card, they're also pulling the amnesiac card. Specifically, they send Aya's essence into past National Guard troops. She can switch which soldier she's possessing using Overdive, which is also just what they call the time travel. Overdiving into people lets you use the weapon they're using, and also lets you use their health bar, which is useful for avoiding death. So they send Aya back into the past to change the outcome of certain battles. And only Aya. And they keep referring to her as Rookie. I know she has amnesia, but she's been a cop and an FBI agent. She's hardly a rookie. As the game progresses, Aya slowly gets her memory back. And unfortunately, the more you find out, the worse the story gets. I shall spoil nothing in this review, but if you really want to know what happens without playing it, there are many gaming forums full of people with complaints. Though the ending is the worst I've ever seen in any work of fiction. But there are other aspects to the game besides the story. The graphics in this game are top-notch, both in-game and in cutscenes. The voice acting is also great. They hired very talented actors for all the parts.
Is there another mission?
The boss is gone. And the FBI branch? They're gone as well.
Are you sure?
Well, except for Maida. Though for him I guess it's more of a fault with the writing, as he comes off as a creepy stalker who plans to dissect Aya in her sleep. The music is okay. It reaches the right amount of excitement most of the time, but it kinda sounds generic and uninspired a lot of other times. The core gameplay is thankfully where the game shines. It's a third-person shooter, which are normally a disaster on the PSP due to the controls, but in this game they work quite well. You of course move with the analog nub. Aiming is done by locking onto enemies by holding the square button. You switch which enemy you're targeting with the D-pad, and you fire with the R trigger. You can do a dodge roll with the X button, and you will be using that a lot. The enemy AI is surprisingly smart. Well, more than I would expect from a PSP game anyways. It follows a pretty standard formula of clear room of monsters, go to the next room, clear room, rinse repeat until boss. There is a time where you have to run from an unkillable monster, but that only happens twice. The game does retain a few RPG elements. As you kill enemies, you gain experience points and battle points. Experience points are of course used to level up, and battle points are used to buy and upgrade new weapons. Weapon proficiency also levels up as you use them. There's also the DNA board, a neat feature that allows you to splice DNA you find together to gain new boosts. Now what I feel is the worst part of the game, even more so than the story, is the length. It took me a mere 7 hours to beat, and that includes watching all of the cutscenes. They try to make up for this by rewarding multiple playthroughs with higher difficulties, new outfits, and even cheat codes, but I find this to just be lazy game design. So in the end, fans of the previous Parasite Eve games will be sorely disappointed with the third birthday, and newcomers will find an enjoyable third-person shooter with a really lousy story. And I think it's worth noting that everyone involved with the first two games had nothing to do with this one. It's very obvious that little to no research was done into the past two games by the people who made this installment. Which is a real shame, as this game comes off as a cheap cash-in instead of the proper sequel that we've all been waiting for.